Happy Cinco de Mayo, y'all. Definitely a good day. Cause for a whole lot of celebration this weekend. It's gonna be a fun one. But for Laker fans, it's a tough day for us. So we're here after game 2, after the defeat. It was a big blowout. Steph and those boys showed out. JaMychal Green and Klay Thompson cooked us somehow. So
The
now we're
Michael
tied
Green
up
game.
at 1-1, heading back home here in LA for a fun games 3 and 4 this weekend. But if we want to talk about what went on, we want to talk about all that's going on in those games and continue to follow this series very close as we love talking about our Lakers and things. So good things to get into, a lot of discussion about adjustments and all that to get into. But first, of course, continue to like, rate, you subscribe, all that for us. It's your boy G and Alec here at Section 300. Appreciate all the love. And yeah, let's jump into it. We're going to run this intro real quick and got a lot to talk about. So appreciate y'all for tuning in. Everybody sit back, relax. I don't need a grand reaction. We knew they were going to come up firing heavy in game 1 and game 2 after how things went in game 1. They did just that, responded. Our goal was to steal at least 1 on the road, and we did just that. And yeah, it was a tough loss, of course, because it was a major blowout. But I'm still glad that we're able to steal at least 1 of those on the road. We talked about how every series, it doesn't start till you win 1 on the road, where you did that in game 1. So I'm somewhat okay with how that game 2 went. Alec, what are your first reactions to how game 2 went yesterday?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's important that the Lakers were able to steal 1 on the road against a Warriors team that is really high-powered at home and has struggled on the road throughout the season. They were able to finally turn the tide with that against the Kings, getting 2 of those games in Sacramento. But we've seen throughout the season, they haven't been quite as sharp. They've turned the ball over a little bit and haven't been able to close games as well on the road. So important to be able to steal 1 where they're more comfortable and have the crowd behind them. And in game 1 as well, to kind of set the tone for the series that this is going to be a back and forth matchup. It's not going to be a runaway for the Warriors. It's not going to be a runaway either way.
Sure.
And I think it was important for AD also to set the tone. We'll talk a little bit more about him in his follow-up games after his masterclass games. But I think it was important for him to set the tone in game 1 as he did and force Golden State to make some adjustments because as we talked about last episodes and previously, when AD is looking like the best player in the world, looking like the best player on this team, that's when the Lakers won the chip in 2020 and have the best chance of winning the chip. So,
yeah, we didn't get that in game 2. We got more of whoever this guy is. We got more of that in game 2, sadly. So definitely a tough thing to watch. It was just a very interesting thing how things are going to go back and forth. I asked you heading into the series, do you think the shortened amount of time between each game, just a 1-day break, will be a major factor? And you dismissed that. But we see how one game they come out firing, and that's just the history of AD now. When he comes out best in the world, the next game comes out looking like this. So why would you go back and forth like that? I don't quite understand. But with this thing as it's been going, folks even have gone to say, instead of calling him street clothes, he's now alternate days as his new nickname, as he has 30 one day, then 11 the next, and often goes back and forth like that pretty much throughout the whole playoff so far.
It's kind of crazy.
Shout out to I don't want to hide his tweet, Eddie Gonzalez and Bansky on Twitter, who podcast with Kevin Durant, among other things. But just as he goes back and forth, it's just crazy to watch. And hopefully, this implies that we'll get a great game 3 on Saturday night. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So just what adjustments, as you pointed out, do you think need to be made so that he can have a good bounce back?
I will say too, real quick, to your point about the 1 day in between. I don't think it was necessarily that it was an effect on the entire team. It was really largely Anthony Davis in terms of the disparity between game 1 and game 2. Like LeBron came out game 2 shooting the lights out. Like he hasn't shot this well in weeks. LeBron, he was very efficient and was arguably the best player individually. But AD, his Batman, his Robin or Batman, depending on the day, he did not show up as a co-captain there. And as far as adjustment for AD specifically, I had on here. I think Darvin Ham needs to get AD involved in the offensive possessions early and often, and running the offense through him early and often. Because when he was able to enforce his will on the game, that completely shifted the tone of how the game was played in game one. And I think along with AD, the emphasis being on getting AD the ball and running sets for AD, I think as well, more of an emphasis on getting the ball in the paint for the Lakers as well too, because it's a disparity of about 10 shots between game one and game two. They took about 10 more threes and 10 less shots in the paint. And I think that needs to flip back to what it was in game one, where you're taking 10 less threes and 10 more in the paint and putting the pressure on the officials to make a call. There was a lot of crying from Warriors fans in game one after the disparity in free throws. But that's because of how the two different teams were playing. The Warriors were playing a lot more on the perimeter. They took over 53s. And the Lakers were pounding the ball inside and putting pressure on Golden State's defense and lack of rim protection. And I think that needs to be more of an emphasis in game three. It seemed like they were a little bit resting on their laurels after. All right, we've taken game one. We're fine with the split. We're not going to give it our 100% once again in game two, which was a little bit disappointing to see in a playoff environment.
It's interesting with that real quick. You say that, and most Laker fans agree with that and had that thought going into it. But as you also pointed out, LeBron came out firing. So it wasn't like they fully planned to just fold this game. They did want to come out and see what they could get. But when LeBron brings the energy and the rest of the team was like, no, we good. It results in what we got. So I guess following with that, can this team make a run as we believe that they can with LeBron leading the way, or does AD have to continue to step up in order for them to get over the hump?
I firmly believe that AD is the X factor, and AD has to be the one stepping up and leading this team on both ends of the floor because of his impact, especially on the defensive end. And that was one thing, like rebounding as well too. He was pretty much a no-show in terms of what he's capable of. I think he had 20 boards or 23 boards, something like that in game one, and then he had 7 in game two. It's like I can get maybe your shot start falling, so you're not scoring as much, but that's a lack of effort and activity on the boards, on the glass, and maybe that is a little bit to your point about tired legs, not as fresh legs, but still that disparity needs to come down a bit. It can't go from 20 plus to 7 the next game. Like we need double-digit boards from you, especially when you know guys like Looney are going to be crashing the boards heavy. You know Steph as a guard is going to crash. You know Draymond's going to crash. So we need that, especially if we're playing with AD at the 5 a lot of the time. We're going to need him to clean the glass for us.
Yeah, so definitely will be amazing to continue to watch. On the Warriors side, I watched Draymond's podcast reacting to game 2, and he talked about he didn't go full in detail, of course, but he did give a little insight into how they made a switch of him going up and guarding him and Draymond guarding Anthony Davis in that game, rather than them switching guys around as they did and trying to throw doubles and things. They said they had Draymond stepped up to that challenge, and handled that very well. I guess I will say real quick, I guess in response to what you said, Anthony Davis and his effort definitely played his part too. But Draymond and that adjustment on the Warriors side surely was very impactful. So we'll see if they can continue to use tactics like that to keep them ahead in the series, or if Anthony will step up as well and combat that. We saw the impact of JaMychal Green, as we joked about a little bit, but seriously, having somebody, contrary to Kevin Looney, who stays in the paint and just dominates the boards, having a big deal out there that can stretch the floor even more for them, open things up for them even more, and allow them to swing things around and get more of the shots, the threes and things that we saw them get in this game. So we'll see if they continue to be a big part of this lineup as they go forward. And yeah, that was another thing too, just about the split here. I mentioned to you in the chat. It's like, as much as we're okay with the split, as we continue to say, we're fine with being 1-1, stealing 1, how the games played matter. And having a game where the Warriors get high as they do, and a lot of guys find their shot, and now JaMychal Green is an added piece that potentially can be beneficial for them as a big that can come in and provide solid minutes for them throughout the series. having games like that where a team now has found adjustment that work, that matters just as much as whatever the result means in the games as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see if the Darvin Hammond and the coaches over there adjust to what the Warriors have figured out with their team. And yeah, I'm excited to see how the rest of the series plays out. What do you think about just the impact of Jermichael and how Game 2 went?
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you made as far as being content with this or being happy with the split, but not like content, because it is important how you approach the games as well, and the focus and attention to detail that you have. Like we talked about, basketball is a game of adjustments, and I think Steve Kerr, of course, his hand was forced. Like he had to make adjustments after Game 1, where they overall the Warriors played a good game. Maybe they would have liked to approach it differently in terms of being more aggressive and not being as perimeter heavy, but they played a great game. The Lakers just out-edged them in the end. But he still had to make adjustments, and he did with having Steph on the ball more, like bringing up the ball more, and initiating more of the offense. And we talk about whether people joke about it or are serious about it. Steph does have gravity as a basketball player with his ability to shoot pretty much once he crosses half court. So the attention that defenders are giving to him, he's sometimes drawing 3-4 guys, and we saw him have double-digit assists in that game too. And then you mentioned the Jermichael Green adjustment, which partially was because of Kevon Looney having an illness, is why Jermichael Green started, but also too to space the floor and give the Lakers a different look with them being able to play more 5 out. But as far as Darvin Ham adjusting to that, I think how they had in Game 1, where Jared Vanderbilt was crowding Steph's airspace, he was denying him the ball. He was chasing him off screens and he was. I think Tim Legler pointed it out on his breakdown. He was turning Steph 3 or 4 times up the court, like making him work, just dribbling up the court into the half court. I think there needs to be more of an emphasis on that. Like Vanderbilt was much more lax in Game 2, and like I said, maybe that was a little bit resting on the we stole Game 1. We don't need to go all out.
Gets to your head. They call Dando the step stopper after Game 1. I'm like, y'all, there's no step in the league. Y'all gotta relax. But just, it was dramatic, but still, just to say that they have somebody that could stay in front of Steph and not have to have 3-4 guys have eyes on Steph at all times. So things were very dramatic about Vando's impressive play in game 1. And they got to their head a little bit, and they got real comfortable in Game 2. And Steph definitely responded as Steph does. So we'll see how that goes forward. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think more of an emphasis on Vanderbilt and Schroeder, who played Steph decently well too in Game 1, making Steph uncomfortable, not giving him any airspace, making him work for everything. And then lastly, I think there maybe needs to be a change in approach to how they're guarding guys off ball. I think Klay had 6 threes in Game 1 and maybe 8 in Game 2. Klay obviously is all-time great shooter and the perfect complement to Steph's game.
Correct.
But I think chasing guys, I saw a few times Troy Brown Jr. was late or tried to shoot the gap and shouldn't have, and Klay got a wide open 3 look in Game 1, or Austin Reeves having to chase these guys around. It seems like it's like a little bit rough on these guys' legs, good or bad, that they're having to chase these guys around off ball on screen. So maybe an adjustment is switching off ball screens instead of just having to stay connected and chase guys around all the time, because that's wearing on you defensively. And then we see the offensive output from guys like Reeves hasn't been as efficient or hasn't been as impactful as it was in previous rounds, because we are applying so much pressure on the defensive ends trying to keep up with these guys. And we know that their offensive system is high powered and hard to stop. So maybe if there's a little bit less energy that we have to expend on that end, chasing guys around, and we're committed to switching on those off-ball screens, we can have a little bit more energy on the offensive end to create and be a little bit more efficient. So
correct. So
some of my thoughts.
Yeah, definitely some things to keep our eyes on. We'll see how they continue to slow down Clay. Draymond talking in his podcast also about Clay definitely want to get up for this series, finally getting the Lakers in the playoffs and the impact of playing again. He grew up a Lakers fan. Dad was a historic Laker and all of that. So this definitely means something to him. So he's up for it. So he's definitely going to be excited to go play here in LA for these next couple of games as well. So definitely things to keep our eyes on, and we'll see what adjustments can be made there. So fun things as we look to those games. How you think Game 3 at least goes on Saturday? We'll react more as things go along. We'll start with Game 3.
Yeah, I think Braun kind of had that look in his eye, like, all right, like it's time to turn up a little bit.
Right.
Like as we said, he came out firing offensively, and I think throughout this playoffs, he's actually been really good defensively, especially off the ball. He's kind of been playing center position, like when AD is out, like more of a roamer, kind of how Giannis plays for the Bucks, off as an off-ball defender.
Right.
And I've appreciated that he's putting in that effort, but it was nice to see his shot falling a little bit more. And I think Braun is locked in for this series for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, he wants another chip. There's the Steph versus Braun narrative. There's the him versus the Warriors narrative too. So I think he wants this, and I think the team is going to want a big bounce back. So I definitely think the Lakers make some adjustments. I think Darvin Ham sat back like Idris Elba and observed and has some ideas in the take that he wants to try out. And I think they take game 3 for sure. Game 4, it could be a little bit more of a toss-up to me. But I favor the Lakers at home. But like I do think the Warriors get one more in this series, so I'm not sure if that's one of those in LA or not. But I think the Lakers for sure take Game 3.
Yeah, they gotta get Game 3. I think wanting to come back and understand the magnitude of this game. I definitely think LeBron and these boys will answer the call there and do so. So excited for that and hope that they actually do follow through with that. And then we'll react more as things go along. But for Game 3, I do think that AD has a bounce back game, as they said, alternate days or whatever joke you want to make.
It's time for him to have another big game.
So. It's time for another 30 and 20 game as he responds back properly and all of that. I do think we see a better play now that we're back at home from our role players. I think Austin Reeves, who has played well in this series so far, but I think we can elevate now that he's at home, as well as D'Angelo, who had a nice game in game 1. Tailed off in Game 2. So I think we start seeing some better play from those other guys as well now that we're back in our home arena. And we can get back on track to the 6th game victory that we predicted. So looking forward to that. We'll continue to keep our eyes on all of that as we go along. Any fun question you want to throw in there at the end real quick?
Just for this series?
And any narrative questions you want to sneak in just for the sake of it? I think we already talked about AD carrying the series, but anything else?
Right. No, not really like a fun. I was just gonna ask if there was anyone like not in the Lakers rotation right now that you'd want to see like get a little bit more run.
I don't know if I want to see anyone, but I'm interested in interested in what happened to Lonnie Walker. Like a guy like that was somewhat pivotal, and then the trades happened and kind of fell out of rotation. So having more wins like that definitely could be useful. But as the playoffs go, lineup shrink and all of that, so I don't really see a major need for anybody. I definitely don't want to see no more Tristan Thompson.
That's there. I forgot about that. I meant to mention that, so I'm glad you did. Yeah.
As soon as it's time to
exactly
cut the cameras.
That's what I was gonna say.
Everybody go home. So
if you see Tristan Thompson on the floor, you know the game is over. The Lakers have lost that game. So
they're down by 30. The Stars have left the building. LeBron's in his sweats. Everybody go home.
That's my true AF statement is I don't want to see any Tristan Thompson minutes for the rest of the series because that's an L. If he's on the floor, it's an L.
I fully stamp that. So no more Tristan minutes will be great. I think as a more serious note, I think the lineup strengths in the playoffs, of course. So we have a rotation set as is, and I'm cool with it going as it needs to be. Actually, I will say if we can find some more use of Mo Bamba, who's on the roster, I don't know what injury is going on with him. Does he has had an injury a while ago and never really got back on his feet for whatever reason? We can get more use out of him. That surely could be useful as well. But beyond that, I'm cool with the roster, with the lineup rotation shrinking down as it has. So yeah, I'm cool who we got. You have anybody you want to throw in there?
I had one fun question for you.
Okay.
I was gonna say with Zendaya in the building, you're gonna take your foot off the gas like the Lakers did.
Oh no, that's more reason for the Warriors to step up. That's why Clay was hooping. That's why the Warriors had to show out.
But that's what I'm saying. If I'm the Lakers, I'm not gonna take my foot off the gas. Like
we don't have a guy like that on our team. Like for the Warriors, we know that if the bats are in the building, Jordan Poole's gonna go off, Clay might go off, Steph's gonna do his thing. We're gonna see Moses Moody might step up a little bit more. Guys are gonna start elevating their play to really make sure they do what they gotta do. We don't really have guys that got on our squad. I don't think Austin Reeves sees Zendaya like, oh yeah, I gotta cook now. I think it's a little different, respectfully. So yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll see how things go. We saw how they stepped up in LA on this last series. So yeah, I think when the lights are bright, that's all the motivation they need on our side. But I see what you're saying though.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get a Rihanna sign or Vanessa Hudgens or whatever, in crypto, so someone can turn up for us.
Hey, shout out get Ice Spice in the building. That'll do it. Oh my gosh. So yeah, fun to look forward to. The last thing I'll sneak in here is that, as I talked about, I watched Draymond's podcast, Players Up podcast now, and are opening sharing their things. Someone that we pointed out a while back that has a decent podcast, that was a former Laker now, Pat Beverly, was on his podcast recently talking about how he in the gym a couple of days ago and was talking with Russ, and they both jokingly said that they think they want to get their rings, like the Lakers find a way to win a championship this year. You think if we win that they both should get a ring because of their contribution early on in the season?
I don't think they were joking, to be honest. Like he said that Russ came to him and was like, "I want my ring." So I don't know if Russ was joking about that, but to be honest, I'm a little conflicted. Obviously, Russ was there like for 2 years. Like Pat Bev was with us for a couple months and was hot ass the entire time. So I don't know about Pat Bev tagging along with that. Russ, like I'm a little conflicted because obviously like it wasn't his best like tenure there, and because of how like he was treated by like fans and like organization, honestly too, how he was treated in that year with Vogel. Like I don't really know if the organization is gonna want to give him that ring.
Right.
I think one like way you can look at it is they don't get this current iteration of this team without him either. As far as like the trade got them,
but they
depth of 3 players.
But they also wouldn't have needed this iteration if he just played good. So
yes, too. But that fit wasn't going to work with him and LeBron.
Sure.
We already know that.
Yeah, both sides are understood. But go ahead.
Yeah. So like as a Russ fan, I would be like, yeah. Typically, I'd be like, yeah, like he should definitely get it. But I'm a little conflicted because like I don't know, it didn't really like work out well between Russ and the team. Like if there was like more of a mutual, like a partnership, and like they were kind of more in sync, like kind of how he is with the Clippers.
Right.
Like if he left the Clippers now and the Clippers went on to get a ring next season and they traded him or whatever, like I would see the Clippers giving him a ring. But how things soured with him and the Lakers, like it seems harder for me that Russ would get a ring from the Lakers. But
even with what I said, I think I'd give him one, but I wouldn't publicize it. Like I'd slide him one. Like I wouldn't do a whole. I do ceremonies when guys with other teams still. Play that team. I wouldn't do a ceremony and like, hey Russ, here's your ring. I wouldn't do that. But after they win, like, yo Russ, here you go, fam. Like, thanks. We ain't gotta show it off. But
because for me, technically, like he does deserve. Like he was the most like available player. Like he's the one that sacrificed the most, like of his role with being on the team. Like I do think he deserves it in that sense, but I just because of how sour things were with the organization, it's just like it would be kind of tricky.
Like
you said, like awarding it to him with the fans and everything, like he might get booed.
Exactly.
So,
you don't really want that. So it's tricky too, because like we lost a few games because of how that mesh didn't fully work. They also saved us a few times when AD and LeBron were out. So it's like there were both sides where you contributed good and bad. So yeah, this depends on them. I think
Pat Bev, get out of here.
Pat Bev, I am not just in that. Whatever. He don't get one. I don't think he should get one. But Russ, I can see a like argument for at least sliding him one on the low for his contribution earlier on for this year and a half that he was with us. So yeah, we'll see how that plays. But fun things across the board here. And yeah, that's really all I got right now. I will say Oh, that's how I want to do as well. Sneak this in at the very end.
Okay.
Alec, you have your segment, True AF. We enjoy your segments each week. All your positivity that we go back and forth on. We continue to do that and highlight statements that you make as things go along. Trying to find a segment for me. We talked about sports betting a little bit. I wanted to get more into that. So we came up with something called G's Units, as G's Units to watch.
You want to show us your first slip?
No, I'll show it off. I'll hold my elk proudly, but I just wanted to introduce it. So G's Units are our picks to watch each game as we get here and talk. I'll throw this in at the end for props to look at, put a little parlay together, whatever the case may be, for things that caught my attention. And maybe I'll go ahead and hold the L. I put together a little leg for this game too.
A lot of red on there.
It did hit. A whole lot of red on there. I'm Playboy Quality right now. A whole lot of red on there. Didn't quite hit, but these are things that I was looking at. I did hit one. I got one, but whatever. We'll definitely improve going forward. Just to see. I put a 5 on it. I'm not gonna hide that either. Just some things to keep our eyes on. They want to get more into sports betting and things go along. I'll learn and adjust accordingly as we go forward. But if you want to fade my picks, go ahead and fade my picks. Or if you want to roll with me, go more so as we go along as well, we do that. I would show more for the Lakers game for Game 3. We're here on Thursday morning or Friday morning though. They don't have the full odds out for all the game for that Game 3 yet. So I don't really have anything I can put on it just yet besides a LeBron and Steph potentially. But for more in-depth things, continue to follow us on IG and all that. I'll have a whole list of picks again for Game 3 that you guys can do what you want with as we go along. So Alec has True AF. I got G's Units to watch. Fun things to go on here. Continue to add new segments and things to the show. And then we just appreciate you guys for tuning in. So that'll be it for right now. Continue to like, rate, view, subscribe, comment, share. How you show love. We definitely appreciate it all. It's your boy G with Alec here in 6300. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Have a fun weekend. Definitely excited for all of that. And we'll be back after Game 3, and hopefully we're celebrating the victory. So that's all for today. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Peace.
Deuces.